And it's crazy because like when we go to networking events as well, like people will be like, oh, I feel like I know you. And that's just from social media, just from building that brand and people watching us on a daily basis. Like people, it's funny, people will meet us and go, this is weird. Like, this is weird because I've seen you guys so much on social media. And, you know, that trust has been built already to the point where you've literally done everything.
Right, so I'm super excited today. I've got Hayley and George joining me today from Dugard Properties, and really excited. I've been watching you guys on social media. I've been seeing what you're doing in like a short period of time, really, as well. So really excited. I've come from a very similar thing, working with investors, still work with investors. So as we were just talking before we got this going, I feel what the journey you're going through because I've been through that journey and doing that journey myself. So really excited to have you on today. Done a bit of research around you guys, but I'd like people to introduce themselves. I don't like doing too much research because I like coming out a bit more organically as well when I'm speaking. But I have done a fair bit of research. But the numbers keep on changing. You're just being so aggressive with what you're doing and buying. Every time I look, I see an old interview, see something different. And it's like, what number are they at the moment? How many properties are they doing? How many have they sourced? Like, so do you want to give yourself a quick introduction, what you're up to, how many you sourced and who you are basically?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Hannah and this is George. We opened Dugard Property, go back in June 2019 now. I think it's our 2nd year anniversary this week.
It is, I didn't think that.
June the 5th, isn't it? June the 5th.
Completely happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. And we primarily opened, George came from a bit more of a property background than I did. I'd been in IT corporate for nearly a decade. George had some project management experience, but more so hands-on with plastering, wasn't it?
Yep.
And we were toying with the idea of property for ages. Finally took the plunge, and we kind of got hooked on a YouTube video on sourcing, which made it look way easier than what it is in reality. We learned that very quickly. And we started off bespoke sourcing, and we did a few here and there. And then we kind of just started to own the BRR model, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And really picked up traction, especially in the last year. I think COVID really accelerated our business in the sense that we had worked such good and created such good agent relationships that when they kind of went into lockdown, they still needed to make money. So we were collecting keys and viewing empty properties on the side. We moved to more of a mailing list model just because of that. The BRR was so in demand, and the parameters that we could secure just ticked everyone's boxes, really. So I think in terms of numbers, do you know what? I can't even keep up myself. I wouldn't even know what number we're on.
Like, yeah, we did a post not too long ago, but I'd say since then we've probably done another 30. So I'd say we're probably at about 100 source deals now.
Well, we've obviously got a team now as well, and to put into perspective, in the last 3 months alone, we've sourced 27 deals. Wow. So yeah, it's getting crazy. And the problem we're facing at the moment, and I know everyone in property is probably in the same position, is obviously we want to make our money, so we keep sourcing through COVID. And normally you'd source and then it'd come out the other end and go into a refurb, but everything was getting held up in legals that we just kept sourcing, and we built up this huge kind of like volcano that's now just erupted because of all of these properties of completing and landing, and refurbs are kicking in. So we've got 20 refurbs on the go at the moment for our sins. So yeah, very busy, but yeah, we've as you said, we've done a lot in a very short space of time, because we started in June we didn't even own our own house at this point in time. And we've gone on to raise over £2 million worth of private investment to build our portfolio. We're now in like our dream home that we live in. So yeah, a lot has been done in 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but
we've aged like 10 years.
Yeah, I'm going all grey and everything now. I'm only 27, but
but yeah, this takes these, as I said, these interviews always, I like them to go in the natural course. I've got a list of questions, and it always, things get sparked that's further down the list than other things. There's a couple of things that you've sparked there. One of the things is that age-old thing. And I've seen a few people, I've seen somebody really big who I admire as well, so I'm not criticising everybody, but like, it's like you don't have to work so hard today. Like, an example I was seeing as well is like, look, you've got young kids on YouTube that are 6 or 7 years old, millionaires already. It's like it's still a lot of work that goes in the background, because it says that overnight success takes 10 years. There's that book, Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about outliers, and he studied like the Beatles to Steve Jobs and these different people being in the right position, taking the opportunity at the right time, but putting in the hours and effort. I think it can be fast tracked a little bit more because of social media and things like that, and being in the right position and right place and right time. But that said, you still got to put an immense effort in. But also, what then kids will do, even if you earn, like I've seen people earn money quick, but earning like sustainable money, which then is like a business, like the E-Myth. I don't know if you read the E-Myth, but like the E-Myth form of a business where it can operate without you, which is, I find there's a massive fallacy when people get into business. They get into business thinking, right, I'm going to have more time, more freedom, do what I want. Don't get me wrong, my whys live on my terms. So I want to live on my terms, and I do live on my terms, but it does come with responsibility, and it does come with trade-offs. And I do have to put a lot in to get them times when I do not have to do, when I don't want to put so much in. And now building a team and systems, it is giving me back a bit more, but that takes time and effort. It's not as easy to just hire somebody, jump on board, like you're going to free me up, I'm going to sit on the beach drinking a pina colada now because you can manage these 20 refurbs we've got going on. You need the processes to hire them. You need a process to keep them onboarded, to keep them engaged, to keep them trained. So what's your views around this, like the work hard or work smart? Of course you've got to work smart.
But before we get into that, if you're new to this channel, make sure you stroke that like and subscribe button. Really helps out the algorithms, and you'll get notified with more content like this and other videos all around property investing mindset.
And I was just about to say, it's about working smart and, not hard. And, it's about networking, getting the right contacts, reading the right books, giving you inspiration, giving you ideas, as well as things like systems, processes, building a team, leveraging time. It's all these sort of things where you're working smart and not hard, and that's how you really do succeed, I think. I mean, you can be a busy idiot, and that's you can be a busy idiot, and you've got to think sometimes, am I making the most amount of money here for the least amount of time? And you've always got to get at that crossroads. That's when you've got to make your decisions. But I really truly think when you're listening to podcasts, you're watching YouTube videos, you're reading books, you really get ideas. You let your mind goes and you find better ideas. And even looking at people on social media, like obviously we put a lot of content out on social media, but we also consume a lot. And through consuming a lot of that social media, you get inspiration from other people thinking, hang on, they're doing that. They're doing something right there. They're on holiday. Hang on. Do you know what I mean? So it's sometimes you have got to sit there and go, right, am I being a busy idiot? Am I not working smart? Am I working hard and not smart here?
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is number 2 of my values. It was number 1 for a little while, and time, just ticks. I think time is our biggest asset. We should be aware of how we spend our time. But number 2 is awareness, and we've constantly got to be aware. And it's a readjustment as well. Like, just because you're spending your time well at the start, what you do at the start, each time you grow. I've done some training with a guy called Roger Hamilton, and he does wealth dynamics, and he says it's a wealth lighthouse. And each time you go up that different level, up that layer of wealth, you have to change your roles, pretty much give up what you've done. So at the start, you're out there kind of hustling, you are the face of it, you are the business doing everything. Then you have to kind of let go of that and then start bringing in salespeople and staff. And each time you go up, it says you get to a certain stage, you become just the orchestrator. So then if you get multiple companies, you become the orchestrator of them companies as opposed to the runners of them, but it takes a while jumping up, and you need to go up each step. I kept on trying to skip 2 or 3 steps along the way and fell off of the ladder, if it is a ladder or what lighthouse, whatever it is, many times trying to skip them steps. And you have to go through it. You've got to work smart. You definitely got to be aware of where your time's being spent, aware of where your time is valuable, because as human beings, most human beings naturally navigate towards a path of least resistance, but also we navigate towards what makes us feel comfortable, So, and if you just do things that make you feel comfortable for the rest of your life, I promise you that you probably not, there's a very small chance you get to the end of your life where you're going to feel fulfilled and achieve what you'd want to achieve in life. So,
it's all about efficiency. And I know a lot of people that probably listen to this podcast, they're at the start and they're thinking, right, I can't employ someone, I haven't got the cash flow. But what you need to be looking at is you need to be hiring people, like, for example, a VA. You can get a VA in the Philippines for cheap. And, over there, it's their, you almost insult them if you pay them too much because it's their sort of economy and stuff like that. And you need to be looking at yourself and going, right, am I focusing on the profit generating tasks here? Like all this admin stuff, this repetitive stuff, I don't need to be doing. I can be paying someone for that, and I can be bringing in a lot more cash in. That's how you start. Obviously, at the beginning of a business, you don't have all that cash flow to be able to hire full-time UK employees on a good salary. But then you build, and then when you get in the more profit and you're bringing in more money, then you can start hiring people to do those jobs for you, to the point where you're making your way up, and all you're doing is just making sure everyone's in the right place and everything's exactly like you said, orchestrating it and making sure it's all going smoothly. And that's the beauty of it. You need to obviously take those steps to begin with, though. And I know it's a risk, but you don't get anywhere without risk. It needs to be calculated risk.
Absolutely. And it's the biggest bottleneck I see of businesses. People try and hold on to too much for too long. Don't get me wrong, I'm the complete polar opposite. Like, I read the 4-Hour Work Week and I was like, wow, I'm going to outsource everything. I literally just hired people, but here's a laptop, get on with it. I'm going to get on with buying property, doing what I enjoy. And I didn't realize you had to put a few systems in place to do that. But and also, you have to manage the systems as well. I wrote up loads of operation systems at the start and manuals, but because I wasn't a good manager, I was off managing. I just wasn't managing them correctly. But in the end, I hired a manager, and even though that was a cost, I hired a manager to manage, to make sure everybody was doing their role and keeping up to their key performance indicators, the systems and processes that were put in, because I wasn't doing a fantastic job of that. But when I coach people exactly that, I really encourage them to start off with a VA, because when you hire people, like anything, remember doing your first refurbs, can't be that long ago for you guys now, but you have to learn along the way. You learn things as you go, and nobody starts off like knowing it perfectly. Some people start off at doing certain things a little bit with a natural innate ability to do it slightly better, but you have to like cut your teeth, get used to doing these things. And managing people is exactly the same. And you do it in the Philippines for like $3, $4, $5, whatever it is you're going to get an hour. It's a good entry to you practicing that. And as you said, you're offloading some low-level tasks, and it's not even an insult to the admin, because some people enjoy admin. And as you said, you're giving them a fantastic opportunity. You can't. I read the book. You can't pay them too much money. I read the book, and it's not being mean as well, by the way. That sounded a bit bad when I said you can't pay them too much money. I read the book Shoe Dog, and they went over to. They got manufactured all around the world, and they was trying to pay them good wages. And the government stepped in and went, "Listen, you're messing up our ecosystem here. You're paying these more than doctors are getting paid. We can't have that. You need to pay them in line with what the ecosystem is paying here. So." Yeah, it's a good wage to them. You do feel bad sometimes, don't you? Where it's a little man, you're like, wow.
When we first saw my parents who were hiring our VA, and we said how much she was going to be paid now, my mum was like, you can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's good money for them. You're paying them the standard rate. You're not trying to exploit them. It's a fantastic service. But okay, going into now at the moment, 27 deals in lockdown. Everybody's talking about the market's hot, we can't get deals, and the market is hot. I'll get on with an agent. And again, that presence with agents is so important. I've been a bit lazy with mine as well, because you can't focus yourself everywhere. And as I was talking to you before, this is the moment, I'm in two minds. Do I hire in, but then take the responsibility of hiring in, training them, getting the right person, especially on the sourcing side. It is a job. It is something when you hire somebody in of that, they quite often grow their wings and go, oh, this is good. I'm going to do this on my own, So I've got all these choices from my head in my sourcing side of my business, thinking what I do. But an agent literally, he told me about this property about 2 weeks ago. He's coming up and valuing it like a good agent relationship does. It's coming on. I think we'll be able to get it beforehand. And I didn't keep the follow up there on this particular one because it's been a bit sidetracked. And as a result, it's gone on to Rightmove yesterday. Chasing him up. Why didn't you tell me? But he didn't tell me because he's just busy and he forgot me. He invited me to his wedding, this guy. So this is by no means anything to do with whether he likes me better or not. It's about having the mind space with them. I wasn't fresh in his mind because I didn't do that follow up. So I went to him and his wife's wedding. His wife worked in another agency. He worked in another agency. It was fantastic. I really got to get on with both of them. But this has gone on the market this last night. Already this morning, there's suspended viewings. I'm like, look, if I kept them follow-ups there, we probably had a deal on this done now. I've had many deals with this agent as well, done like that. And the reason he didn't call me, he said he's not fresh on my mind. But going back to that, how you find your deals? What is your favourite form of finding deals? And yeah, it's fantastic inspiration for people that's going, I should be sitting on my hands waiting at the moment.
I think it definitely comes down, the main source of our deals is agents. That's why very early on we focused on one strategy in specific locations, because as you just mentioned, you have that ability to focus on those agents and nurture those relationships. I don't need to be in the valleys one day, in Bristol the next, in Swansea the day after. You'll just constantly be running around. So, and if you're trying to do HMOs and single lets and flips and all sorts, you're just trying to focus on too many different things. So very early on, we reined that in, didn't we? One strategy, one kind of area. And I guess for us, it's been a case of just following through with our word. Like agents, I think we've noticed a big difference between agents who sell properties for a flat fee and agents who sell for a percentage on commission. And the ones who are on a flat fee, they want to get them out the door quickly. It makes no odds to them really on what price they sell it for. They know what the vendor's happy to take. Whereas obviously people on commission want to really drive up those sales, and they're the ones who put it on the market, take your offer and saying they're conducting viewings for the next week, and they'll get back to you the following week.
But even the people that are making the commission, and obviously they want to make that little bit of extra commission for 3-4 grand extra from someone else. But if you can go to them, you can build a relationship and you can make them understand the benefits of working with you. So how can we help you? Say that to them. Ask them how you can help them. And then, you're building a relationship then, because you could potentially do something for them that they see is better than having to go and pass it on to someone else. Do you know what I mean? So they'll bring it to you before anyone else. If it's a motivated seller, now pretty much we've got relationships with most of the agents where we operate around, and they bring it to us. All the motivated sellers that just want to get rid of it for a quick sale, quick cash sale, they'll bring it to us before it's even gone on the market. And that's just through building the relationship and saying to them, look, how can we help you? And giving back as well. Like every time we've got something like, we need to sell a property, or we need to rent a property, or anything that could potentially help an agent, we go to them and give back. So then they see the potential of working with us. So that's how we've built, a pipeline of deals, as well as the fact that we've got systems and processes that are streamlined now, where we're only viewing the properties that really mean something, and everything's like efficient. It's done efficiently now.
Yeah, I must admit, when you start out your viewing to offer to accepted ratio is really, really high, isn't it? Like mine's really compressed now. We know the kind of ones to view. We know the agent relationships. It's really compressed down to what it was at the start when you're viewing just absolutely tons and tons of stuff. But I think you have to go through that. But I agree. It's exactly what I train people on. Like, when I'm a remote investor, like a lot of people in and around London and the Southeast, it's just impossible. Buy to let, BRR just don't work the strategy here anymore. Even if you find a property that you can force appreciation up on, you quite often stumble because the banks won't lend, because it hits the stress test cap on the multiplier from the rent. So the only strategies that work around here really is HMOs or service accommodations, which are great. I'm not putting anybody off by that, but it does take a different level of skill to do that. And also the HMO market is so hot now. Like my pals are doing them, they're spending like 150k on a 3-bedroom house that they picked up for 300k, like 400k, and the bricks and mortar's only maybe worth 340, and they're going above the bricks and mortar value, which I'm not discrediting that, but at take 150k refurb as opposed to like 15-20k refurb is a different ballpark what you're playing with, And I say to people, look, it's not for everybody. You always got exceptions of rule, but I think cutting your teeth on the single let BRRs, I call it the KISS, the KISS refurb strategies, the keep it simple stupid. It's an acronym from the Navy SEALs. Keep them under a sort of certain size to start with, just to cut your teeth, get them relationships with agents, get used to the things that's not going to happen or you don't foresee, that even builders, you get a builder out and you'll go, well, why didn't you tell me that? Well, you didn't tell me that. And you're like, well, you're a builder, and so I don't think people should be taking on 150k refurbs at the start, unless their dad's a builder or their best friend has done it before. But cut your teeth. But you just can't in the Southeast. So again, I advise people to look at different areas like Wales, like the Northeast, like the Northwest, where the buy-to-lets, BRR, single lets still work. And that's one of the massive advices I give them is do not scattergun into loads of different areas. The most important thing is your network, and building up a network of agents and builders. If you're in 10 different locations, you're never going to get that momentum with them relationships, are you? Like you just couldn't do it. And also understanding the areas as well. Like there's intricacies in certain roads and things like that. It's just too difficult. But yeah, I really love that, and giving that focus. You see, there's so many ideas out there today. It's kind of, we've got a paradox of choice, haven't we? And and as you said, you see other people, you think, oh, they're doing SAs. Wow, like that seems good. They're doing commercial conversions.
Penny syndrome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's so many strategies out there, and you do see some of them. You're like, wow, that's a good strategy, and you just got to stay focused on this and get this sorted first. You can get distracted. You can, and you can compare yourself to others as well. I say it a lot. Like you know, the worst mistake to make as a business person, especially at the beginning, is comparing yourself to others, because all you're going to do is waste energy and time on something that isn't to do with your success and your goals.
Absolutely. There's always someone bigger, unless you're Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or someone like that. There's always someone bigger and better to compare yourself against, isn't there? You know, so you just don't want. You want to use people as a. It's hard because we're emotional beings and we do things, everything emotionally, and justify it logically afterwards. The emotional brain is much more powerful than a logical thinking brain. This is why there is a knowledge action gap and people don't get started and do what they want to do, sort of thing. So it is difficult. That's why you need that awareness to pull yourself back. It is sometimes difficult. We all get a little bit because emotion. You think, oh, I should be there, or should I be doing that? But quite often it's that iceberg analogy, isn't it? You see the top part where it seems all rosy, but you don't see underneath all the stress, all the challenges. So yeah, it is interesting. But
sorry, just one more thing, then we'll go on to the next point. Sorry, I was just going to say it's worth looking into the thing about for people listening, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, because that's a really powerful way of sort of changing your mindset. Because rather than seeing people as like, you know, envy, you envy them, you see them as an inspiration. And that I've changed my mindset completely. Everyone that I see that's doing, like, you know, steps ahead of me, and I'm like, oh, I should be doing that, or shiny penny syndrome, I should be doing that. I look at them and now see it as an inspiration. Could I be doing something in that regard, or should I be doing something in that regard? And it's a mindset change.
Yeah, fantastic. And listen, it's so refreshing, and myself included, I'm guilty to this. I just tried spinning too many plates. It nearly bankrupted me. I tried opening a letting agent, the sourcing stuff, building companies, trying to do all these all at the same time. And a strategy I learned from Progressive, funny enough, was 70-20-10. I can't focus on just one thing. I do need more than one plate spinning because it just loses my attention. But it's just the profile I am. But if I'd focus 70% of my energy on one main area, 20 on a second, and 10 just maybe thinking about a third or something that don't take too much of my attention, that works well for me. But yeah, it's so refreshing that you've just done that. You've not got that shiny penny syndrome, and you can see the results from that. You know, like that's shining through. You know. So back to the refurb side of things. I mean, when you joined my group, I always ask the questions: what's your challenge at the moment? You went builders. So 20 refurbs. How are you dealing with builders? We was saying before we got started. At the moment, the guy messaged me the other day from Stockton and went, "Have you got somebody who clean out gutterings?" I said, "Look, we're just gone through the last guy that done that for us. We're looking for a new guy at the moment. I'll let you know if we find someone." And he was like, "Yeah, builders tend to have a shelf life, don't they?" I said, "Yeah, a lot of them do."
100%. They all come on. They're amazing when they start. They promise you the world. By the third project, they're so complacent, and by then they're also then looking for their next. It's just, there's so many challenges you could list for builders, whether it's one project, 5 projects, 20 projects, the list is never ending. And just to throw into the mix, how much materials have increased in terms of price this year has just been another spanner in the works. That's been extortionate. And I just think trying to then, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So then you have multiple build teams. They've all got their different pros and cons, and there's just something every day. Not
trying to put a negative on property investing at all. Like, you know, the rewards are brilliant, but if you're going into property, you do have to be prepared for builders, and you do have to be prepared for the challenges that come with refurb.
There are different species,
and it's just as simple as that. It is a challenge, and you know, I've been in the building industry myself, and it just is a challenge. Builders are just a different breed, I suppose.
Say that though, you think about it, I think they're not a different breed. I think they're human beings. Anything you get a human being involved with, whether that be a builder, a solicitor, an accountant, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're going to get good and bad versions of that, you know. So and you get ones like sorry,
humans are just hard work.
Absolutely. Anything that got a human being involved with. And again, we all get it as well. Like, even myself, even though I'm aware of this, you get complacent. Like, this is just a simple example. I've had a problem with my neck and my back for years, and I love fitness and exercise, but it always goes. Last year, I really focused on it. Icing, stretching, functional movement exercises. Got up to a place where I've never been since I was 21. I was really chuffed with it. But as I got more fitter and stronger, I got more complacent on the side of the stretching, the icing, and the functional stuff that allowed me to get to there. And then I injured myself again. And this is it. Any human beings, without realizing it, even if you're aware of it, as I said, we're emotional beings. Like, you just get complacent. And same with builders. Everybody does it. I find I usually get to about 3 or 4 jobs with a builder, and then like the relationship starts stretching. And I find a common thing happens with them as well is they usually start off great, as you said, But what happens is, because they're good and because they're working for you and because you're active on social media as well, it's pushing their brand out as well, they get more jobs on and they try squeezing more on. Yeah. And it's a classic e-myth. Like, I find builders are great price-wise when it's him in his van with his labourer and he subcontracts out a few like of the sparks and electricians and that. But then he wants to run multiple jobs. And it's like, okay, running multiple jobs and multiple teams is not just a builder anymore. You are now becoming a project manager, an accountant, an admin person, you know, so you've got where. Go on, sorry.
And then they go VAT registered and then they become hard to get because it makes the deals tighter. It's a constant spiral in it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love what you said. It's for me, I say, I don't try and put people off on property. I try and make them know the awareness of it. Yeah. Anything you want that's rewarding, whether that's having a ripped body, whether that's having a fantastic relationship, whether that's having a fantastic business, comes with trade-offs. The trade-offs are worth the rewards for certain people in certain areas. Like some people will trade off, I'll just eat boiled chicken and broccoli every day. My nephew's doing it at the moment because he wants to look ripped. His vanity ripped. He just wants to be ripped. And that trade-off's worth it for him. You just got to weigh up that you cannot have the rewards 99.9% of the time without them trade-offs in between. They are rewarding. It is worth the trade-offs. I agree with you, but you've got to be aware going into it, like that it's just you will have these challenges along the way. But I think it's refreshing that people are honest with that, you know, because so many people try and say, be an investor, sit on the beach, let everybody work for you. And
it's like I said at the beginning, we got into this because we stumbled across a video that made sourcing look the most easiest, the most amazing, kind of not get rich quick, but the work that goes behind actually what you get for the fee is so much different to, I think, people's perceptions and how involved you are in that full end-to-end process. And everyone talks about passive investing, and is it really passive? It's just, I think having conversations like this and just highlighting, it's fun to do, it's great to have, it's the rewards, like you said, are great, but just letting people have that insight into what it is actually in reality and not the all singing and dancing.
Exactly what you've said. Like, there is trade-offs, and it's as simple as that. Like, if you want to get those rewards and you want to live the life you want to live, you have to go through that sort of and it also comes down to this delayed gratification as well, isn't it? Work hard for a couple of years and then live the life you want to live, but you have to put in those hours and you have to put in that brain power and that struggles to get there. Yeah,
you got to have that risk, brain power, and it really bugs me when people like moan about people that are successful, or even big companies like Apple. Really, not everybody agree with this. I know it's probably a polarizing view, but it bugs the life out of me when people say, why is Apple only paying 3% tax or 4% tax? It's like Apple had the biggest ever tax bill in history last year, biggest in history. So they give the revenues more money than they ever received from one company ever. So instead of focusing on the percentage they're paying, let's focus on how much they pay, but also how much good they've done to society by giving each job, the revenue they're creating from all the employees they've got from that, and the massive amount of risk that they've taken at a juggernaut company like that. You've seen big companies just go bust overnight, like a certain thing, like an iPhone might start exploding in people's ears, or something happens bad, and it can just go from overnight from that to nothing. So there's got to be rewards for it, and the rewards are great, but you don't get rewards in life unless you put in effort, you know, and you've got to put them effort along the way. But right, my questions have all gone out of a line because it's a great conversation. They just go in the direction they kind of go in. So I'm trying to find the ones I've asked now. That's the one. That's where I'm at now. So how did you like sourcing? Is sourcing the first thing you started off doing? How did you source your first deal? How did you source your first investor? And how do you source your investors at the moment? Like, sort of what you're doing at the moment?
So we sourced our first deal. We sourced our first investor at a property networking event. We just met him and pretty much gave us a call a couple of days later. And then we worked on a bespoke basis for him. So at that time, we thought we'd have an investor behind us in order to not ruin the relationships with agents. So that's what we did. In order to get our first deal, it was a turnkey buy-to-let that the investor wanted. And he gave us a specific sort of criteria that we had to go out for. And it took us a couple of months to get. We had to, at that time we were learning areas. We are open and honest to our investor as well, telling him where we're at, but we will try our hardest and we will do everything we possibly can. He was struggling to find a deal himself in regards to a turnkey buy-to-let. So we pretty much went out learning areas, learning everything. We knew the numbers because we'd done a lot of reading and a lot of training on it and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the way we got our first deal. In regards to how we source investors now, it's pretty much either on a repeat basis, it's on a word of mouth, or it's through social media. It's through putting out content, showing people what we're doing, showing people what we're capable of, and then other people are like, oh, I want a piece of that pie. Because to be honest, like looking at it sort of as an outsider looking at a sourcing company, I think you're getting an absolute bargain. If I'm honest, you're paying £3,000 approximately as a fee for a source, and then you're paying 10% of the project management. So you're pretty much getting a property investment for the rest of your life for 5-6 grand, and you didn't have to do a single thing. And there's so much work that goes on behind the background as well. So that's pretty much how we get a long answer of how we're getting our investors at the moment. Pretty much just coming through on people are signing up just through seeing our statuses, seeing what deals we're getting, and seeing what we're doing and what we're up to.
Yeah, being persistent and letting people know what you're doing. Network is so important, isn't it? It's such a thing that I say to people, look, if you be persistent on social media, you're going to have an edge over 90% of people, because everybody drops off or unpersistent on it, or they dip in and out. So it is an uncomfortable thing, but it's such a powerful tool at the moment that you just can't ignore it. I didn't naturally want to be on social media, but I just realised, I need to be on there to utilize my business and to push it forward. It's the evolution of business, so that said, it does segue us quite nicely into social media. Like, again, like in a time, like Instagram, Facebook, all these places at the moment now, you can't get the organic reach that you used to get. It is much more tough. And again, because it's so busier, so many more people are turning up, and like kind of overnight sort of turning up, 1 minute not turning up, next minute. It's kind of raised the bar for what you need to do on social media as well now, in the terms of, it's also raised the bar in the terms of building trust with people, because there's so much out there. Like never before has the barrier to entry for property for business in general been so low. Like you can just get a Wix website, and you can go on what's it called, GoDaddy or 123 Reg, get a domain for £3 if it's not a name that like it's really a proper name. You could go on Canva, you go on Fiverr, get some copywriting, and for a couple £100 you could have a business online that looks absolutely amazing. But that doesn't tell you anything about how the business is driven. Like you can get templates today, like Canva. I don't know if you use Canva. I noticed on the other day, Canva has actually given me templates, all in my branding, in my fonts, my branding, my colours, already pre-done. So all I need to go, oh, that's it. I've just put my words into that. It's crazy. So you can make a business kind of look professional. But as a result of this, and as a result of you not needing to pay adverts in the newspaper and pay for adverts on TV or radio, it's pushed up the barrier of trust for people. So it's so important. How quick in 2019 did you start using social media, and what importance do you place on that along with what you're doing, and how did you create a strategy and get such a good following? I know there's a few questions in there, apologies. In the time it is difficult to crack at the moment.
Yeah, I think that when we launched in 2019, both of us, we obviously had Instagram accounts, but it was more like you'd post once a month a photo of you and your friends on a night out kind of thing. Yeah. But we knew from the networking events that we had done, it was emphasized so much how important a brand is and social media. So we opened all social media accounts straight away. And we were really keen to become really active and start following everyone and engaging with everyone. And we enjoyed it to begin with because we wanted to document everything we were doing. But then because of, as George mentioned, it took us a while to get us our first deal. We felt like we ran out of content very quickly because we were showing what we know and we were doing all these different things. But then we didn't have any, we were literally like, what would be useful now? But then as we started to grow as a business, and as you said, we started using Canva and we started securing more deals and investors. Our knowledge grew obviously for content, but obviously we could demonstrate what we were doing. And I think our kind of following really grew when we were showing refurbs, highlighting the challenges, really showing the insides of sourcing and investing in general. And then content started to flow a lot more easier then, didn't it?
Yeah, it's I see it as two things, social media, especially when I'm going to plan something in regards to social media, is I look at the creation of content and the documenting of content. And as you're growing a business, you're always coming up with challenges, you're always coming up with lessons, you're always coming up with things that you want to talk about, and that's creating content. You're using your mind to put content into place. And it's exactly like I said earlier, you might get inspiration from someone and you think, oh, I've actually got a view on that's different to them. I'm going to use their post, but do it in a way that, you know, that shows my opinion on it, creating a spin on it. You know, they might have got a massive engagement on that, and you should be looking at that and going, right, that's a good point. People like engaging with that. I'm going to put my own spin on it and my own opinion on this. And that's in regards to creating content. Any business ideas, any mindset, anything like that, just create the content, put it down, and people will engage with you. And people, you know, people want to you know, socialize with you online. It's like being at a networking event, but just online. And then the documenting of content is just anything that you do throughout the day. Like, we sort of see it as a rule. I've tried to see it as a rule. I've sort of lost the habit at the moment. I'm trying to get back into it. Every 4 hours, what have I done in that 4 hours that I can possibly help people with? Look, any lessons, anything that I can potentially put on my story that's trivial, not to do, you know, not too it's not worthy of a post, but I can just put it out there and help people. Questions, anything, you know, reaching out to the network, anything that I might need help with as well. Anything to do with refurbs, anything. So it's either creating the content or documenting the content. If you look at that, and you will always find content, and you'll always find something to put out there. And the more you put out there, the more you engage, the more you socialize, the more you'll find that people come back to you. And, you know, it's amazing the impact that it can have. Like, it's not just the investors that you have and the estate agents that you build relationships with on social media. It's also the people that you connect with, that you can help ask for advice, that are one step ahead of you. You know, when we wanted to go into the flat conversions and stuff, which we are now, we reached out to certain people that we've built a relationship with online. Like, we weren't doing what they were doing at the time, but we'd still networked with them and built a relationship with them. And because you've got that brand and you can reach out to them, they're happy to help you and happy to have a sit down with you and see how you can help each other.
Yeah, so many powerful nuggets in there. I love that as well. Just made a note that every 4 hours, think of what you've been up to, because something you don't realize, even if you're not doing deals, there's so much, as you said, with the mindset, the mindset of keeping pushing yourself forward when it does seem like things are going slow, you know, like, so relatable. Everybody's relatable at different points in their journey, it's just so important to document it. But the power of it, like when I'm coaching people at the moment, I say to them, look, this is a game changer, especially if you want to invest remotely, but anywhere, you know, like go rewind back when I started in property 10 years ago, or just over 10 years ago. I couldn't have connected with you, you know. I might have seen you at a network event and that was it. But it's online's like networking on steroids. It's like your online CV. And as I said, that trust with people, they have to build up that trust. So when people watch your videos, the amount of people that either invest through me or buy my training or want to work my lettings company go, I've been watching you for a while and I've seen what you're up to. And they've now sort of bought into me and seen where I'm at. But this don't just happen with investors. Like, so many people think they've got to do it for investors, but it helps network and build out network with other like-minded sort of investors, as you said, so you can have peers in your space, builders, solicitors. I've got a solicitor. She must be around 60ish. I don't want to guess her age because it's, I think, a bit rude for a lady, but she's mature, should I say. She's on Instagram of all places. She sees me on there with that's what's that?
I love it.
Yeah, and she sees me on there with my son, and she says, "Oh, Oscar's looking good," and blah blah. When I phone her up, and like, so that relationship's getting formed in the background. Your digital profile and that is an asset for you that's going to work 24/7 around the clock, building relationships for you. And the old way of networking, like you've done your first deal, is you meet someone at a network event, and they say that Robert Cialdini from the book Influence said there's 7 points of contact before you build trust. That got written in the 1980s, 1990s. That's now gone up. Like, Google done a study, it's called Zero Moment of Truth, when people build enough trust in somebody to buy from them or do a transaction or business with them. It's the same for everything. So they say it's now more like 11 touch points before that trust is built now. So, and it's because of social media. And if you're building them trust in the background, it's absolutely just so powerful. George, you're going to say something there, mate. Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's literally crazy. Like, when we put a deal out on our mailing list, right? We put a deal out on the mailing list, and we will get people messaging us. They haven't even looked at the pack. They haven't even looked at the investment, and they go, "I want to put the money down." And that's just because of the trust that's been built on social media. We've never even met the person and they've just seen what we're doing on social media, maybe heard from someone else because they found us on social media and they want to put the money down. I'm like, no, please look at the investment first. Like, please have a look at the pack first and make sure you're happy with the investment. And it's crazy because like when we go to networking events as well, like, people will be like, oh, I feel like I know you. And that's just from social media, just from building that brand and people watching us on a daily basis. Like people, it's funny, people will meet us and go, this is weird. Like, this is weird because I've seen you guys so much on social media. And, you know, that trust has been built already to the point where you've literally done everything, but it's done in such an efficient way because just for you doing that every day, you haven't had to go and build single relationships everywhere for months on end. You've pretty much built that just through putting content on social media. And the way I sort of look at it as well is, imagine you go to a networking event, a physical networking event. I don't knock physical networking events, I think they're brilliant, but go to a physical networking event, it's going to take you the whole 2 hours to get around those 30 people and you're probably only going to get a 10-minute chat. Whereas if you put something out on social media, if we put something out on Instagram now, 2,000 people have seen it, which is, it's just powerful. It's just powerful.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's exactly where I was going with when I said to you, was you going to say something? That's exactly where I was going with that. Oh, wait, there is a place for still physical networking, so I'm not discrediting physical networking. There is a place, but the thing is, online, if you go around that room and try and speak to them 30 people, you probably speak to 30 of them, spend a whole evening, and it's going back to the efficiency of your time being spent correctly, isn't it? Working smart instead of hard, what we talked about at the start. Speak to 30 people, maybe one of them is a good fit for you. You go online, you speak to 30 people, you jump on their Facebook profile, you have a look at them, see what they're up to, you go, yeah, he's probably a good fit for me. Then you explore it further. You can just tell straight away. It's so much more efficient. Then you might jump on a Zoom. Then you go and meet them with that in-person networking. Funny enough, I went to an in-person, well, it was a seminar, and it was weird. Like, even from Clubhouse, people was coming up to me going, "You're Harvey, aren't you? I recognise your voice from Clubhouse." I was like, that is actually strange as it happens. But yeah, I went to a service accommodation in Southampton, like 2.5 hours drive away from where I am. And when I pulled up, lady went, "You Harvey?" I was like, "Yeah." I just thought she'd see my name on the booking. She went, "No, I'm in all the Facebook groups. We've been following you online. This is so weird." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Wow, you know your efforts are starting to work when that happens." But it is. When I'm training people at the moment, all the time, I'm really trying to drill home to them. You've got to get online. If you're serious about building a business, you've got to get serious about this. It is scary for all of us. Most people do not comfortably do it at the start, but it's so important. And yeah, it's something they can't really overlook. Or if they do, like, there's certain things like in life that would be my opinion, and there's certain things that are fact. And there's a fact, no matter how good you are naturally at business, if you don't do social media, you can still grow a business without social media, by the way. But no matter how good you are at growing a business, without shadow of doubt, if you had social media to that, you're going to grow that even faster. You know, and it's similar again when, I don't know about your views around coaching, and I've never asked you before. Similar again, if you grow a business well without a coach, if you get the right coaches and mentors and consultants, every big business does it. Elon Musk, all of them, all got consultants in and trainers. You'll accelerate that. You can still do it without it, but you would accelerate that with that. But yeah, the thing you want to do the least is always the thing you need to do the most to move forward, and you've got to just push yourself out your comfort zone.
100%. Like, at the beginning of our journey, like, the cash flow was little, so we didn't get any mentorship or any training. We went to all the free training, went to loads of podcasts, loads of YouTube videos, loads of networking, read loads of books as well. But now, you know, cash flow's coming in. Every stage that we want to get to now, you know, business growth, going into bigger deals, we get training and we get that mentorship because it accelerates things, and we've got the cash flow to do that now. You know, time is precious when you're in business, and you've got to think time is money. And yeah, we advocate going into training to fast track things and leapfrog things. In regard, you know, rather than doing it all on, I couldn't think of anything worse than going trudging through all the YouTube things and all the things again to do that, when now we've got the cash flow to be able to pay someone who consolidates all that knowledge for you. Like,
and the thing is with doing that is, it is great at the start. I recommend everybody start with that, depending where your journey is. Start with some books, start with some podcasts, start with some YouTube, but then once you get a bit serious, then go to that next level, because there is a knowledge action gap. I ask people this straightforward question. Anybody says to me, look, basically, I don't think coaches, you shouldn't pay for coaches. I'll say to them, right, okay, are you at the place where you thought you'd be in your life right this minute now? So we wind back 10 years ago and think where you thought you'd be in 10 years time? Are you in the shape you'd want to be in? Are you in the relationships you want to be in? Are you as happy as you want to be? And have you got the finances you want to have? And if the answer is no, why not? Because the information's out. You're on YouTube. Why haven't you got this from YouTube? You think you could just do this on your own without the accountability and without the structure, then why haven't you, you know, like if it can be? And like it always surprises me. You wouldn't even go into McDonald's. This is not discrediting McDonald's, and expect to go in and say, do you know what, them tills are pretty easy to use. Why don't you just work it out yourself? You know, like you'd be trained on it. You know, burgers are pretty simple to make. Just work it out. You know, get on with it. Any job you go into, anything you do, you get trained at. But businesses are one of the most hardest things to crack. That's why so many fail, because there's so many moving parts. Everybody thinks because they're a good hairdresser or a good mechanic they can start a business, but there's accounting, there's marketing, there's management, there's HR, there's tons of stuff that goes in on the background apart from the one thing you're doing at the front. And this is why the E-Myth is a powerful book and explains that. But you really got to understand when you go into that that basically you're going to have I've lost my train of thought, so I'm trying to get that back. I don't know where I was going with that now. But yeah, it's really important to understand these things. I can't remember where my train of thought was going with that now. But sorry, guys, I was on a tangent anyway. Let's get back on the track we were saying. No, it's all around the social media and doing the hard things. Yeah. But was it hard for you guys when you first starting out with social media, or did you?
Hated it.
Yeah, Hannah doesn't particularly like it now either. But yeah, at the beginning it's difficult, especially like I've come from a background of like having anxiety, social anxiety as well. I've improved that a lot, as you can probably tell now. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I have got a lot more articulate in things like this. Whereas before, I would honestly be shaking before I went onto a podcast or any live or anything like that. I'd be shaking, I'd be sweating, wouldn't I? Yeah. Hannah was always like, "Don't worry, I'll take the lead," and all this sort of thing. But yeah, it was really scary, you know, and public speaking and stuff like that. But yeah, social media was difficult at the start. Hannah doesn't particularly like putting herself on social media as well, because, you know, there are a lot of trolls and stuff. There are a lot of people that like to put negative comments, and Hannah doesn't like that. No. So yeah, there are those challenges. It's a mindset change again, though. It is everything's within the mindset, and you can program your mind to think different things, and that's the powerful thing. Like Hannah can easily just program her mind to think, right, that negative comment, I'm just not going to pay attention to it, and it won't bother you then. And it's the same with me. Like every time I go onto a live or something now, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Honestly, what is the worst that can happen?
You can lose your train of thought.
And yeah, you know, and then I've got a lot more confident with it now. And it's also, I feel like with things like that, it's about exposure as well. The more you expose yourself to it and face your fears, you grow. And it's about not staying in your comfort zone. And it's the same with taking risk in the business as well. Jumping out your comfort zone, that is where you grow, and that is where you become the person you want to be. Yeah,
and that's where the reward is. If you do something that's easy all your life, you're not rewarded from it. You know, if you go and play tennis with somebody, you're playing tennis or football team, and there's an easy team, and you're just beating them easy all the time, that's not enjoyable. It's not rewarding. The reward comes in that challenge. Don't get me wrong, if you use a Ryman League football team and you're playing the best Premier Leagues or the best European Leagues teams, you can't have that challenge that far where it's just destroying you. You've got to make sure the challenge is big enough that it's a challenge, but not so big where it massively overwhelms you, disheartens you. But it is always about stepping forward. And I asked you that question because I like that to encourage people. You've said so many things on it today. I'm really pleased it's going to help encourage people, because people sit there and go, it's all right for you. You've got loads of followers. You're on there now. You seem comfortable with it. But they don't see that journey going through. I was the same. I was petrified of doing lives. I was petrified of doing videos full stop, you know, and people just think, no, of course that's not the case, because you do it. But if you practice it, you do it, what becomes uncomfortable soon becomes comfortable, doesn't it? You know, so yeah, it is interesting. So how comes when you're looking at areas, why Wales, why that spot? What like you said, you mentioned Bristol, you've probably got a geographical scale around you that you could look at. Why did you pick that location?
I'm a Philly girl. So yeah, when George and I first met, we actually met in Malaysia, and we were doing long distance for a while, because George is originally from London but grew up on the Isle of Wight. So when we were looking at where we were going to kind of set a business, we wasn't living together at that time. I won the Battle of Wales, and
Wales.
Yeah, investments in South Wales work so well. It's become so popular now as well. And then in terms of kind of like the where we invest in South Wales and where we source, I think that kind of came naturally, didn't it? We kept fairly close to where we're based. We didn't want to be spending kind of 2 hours a day driving to even get to one viewing, because as you mentioned earlier, your ratio of how many you view to actually then get accepted, so large, isn't it? You do so many viewings. So it was trying to be going back to how efficient we could be, and that's kind of how we zoned down on where we were based.
Yeah, it was sort of like, it was on our doorstep, and at one point we watched a lot of people, as we said, we were networking, watching a lot of people, and we saw a lot of people doing some good stuff up north, and we were actually tempted to drive up to Leeds every weekend and invest up around that area and stuff. But we didn't know that on our doorstep it was as good, sort of thing. We didn't know that. And it only took us to see other people on, this is why social media is powerful, again, consuming the content, to see people on social media getting the deals. And we saw that and we were like, wow, like it's on our doorstep, sort of thing. Like, and that's when we started hitting home with it in Wales. And, you know, we've got all the different strategies here. You can do every single strategy pretty much. Apart from HMOs are a bit tough because of Article 4 blanket, but you know, every strategy works here. You've got the valleys where the BRRs work well. You've got rent to rents in Cardiff, Newport, and then you just go across the bridge to Bristol to rent to rents as well. And then you've got all the strategies like commercial to residential developments, all that sort of thing. Everything works well in Wales, so I think it is a good area to invest.
Yeah, it looks exciting as well. Listen, I feel everybody talks about property in areas, and obviously London's been a drive. I was born in London as well. I mean, I'm in Essex now, but I was born in London. Super proud of London and my heritage of being born there, being the capital of the UK. But and I think people think I've got something against London, but it's so got a comparable, like the comparable from price to earnings ratio. It's just so wide now, and London's stalled for the last 6 years. There's been no growth in London. Odd little micro, you always get the micro pockets here and there, but there's been no growth there, and it's because of the price per earnings ratio. And basically, so many people go, oh yeah, but London's where the growth is. It's like, how can it carry on growing if the average property is 18 times the average wage? The foreign investment's been disencouraged to go into London because the extra stamp duty, the extra taxes that's gone in place. It's been encouraged to go into the north because of the Powerhouse of the North deal. The government's manifestos and everything they're doing is all edged towards the 5% deposits. Don't touch London. Even with a 5% deposit, you still need to be on 140 grand a year to get the multiplier to buy the house. So I'm really excited about areas like Wales, like the northwest, the northeast, because you look at the average earning in comparable to the average wage, and the growth we're getting in these areas is in line with what people are earning, not in overinflated from banks lending irresponsibly, like pre-08, just lending 130% mortgages to people they didn't even stress test and see they could afford it, or overseas investors piling loads of money in. It's growing because of the economies are growing in these areas, also because of the governments have pushed economies elsewhere, and London used to be the central business hub purely because it was because a lot of business was walking. So you had to be like, you used to get a lot of footfall, you used to be in that central place. But now we're online. That's changed. And I say to people, look, you rewind back over 100 years ago when the UK was the Commonwealth, and we was the leading, like the reserve currency was the pound. We was a leading superpower of the world. The distribution of wealth across the UK was even. We had textiles in Liverpool. We had steel production in the northeast. We had the coal mines. Coal was a massive, because the steam engine and combustion engine was the massive main fuel, what we fueled our heating and engines and everything with, and our boats. As that shifted to oil, as the Americans took over us, and as the reserve currency come into being the dollar, it then become London was the only space in the UK. And this is why you go to all these other areas. You see the architecture from back in the day when the money was there, and you're like, wow, like there's some beautiful buildings, but they was there in it for a while. But now that's being rejuvenated. I'm really excited about all these different locations outside. I
have a question for you as well. Like, in regards to the BRR single lets, then I know BRR is always going to work well in terms of adding, because a lot of people see BRR as just a refurbishment. It's not. It's adding value to the property. Yeah. So it can be through, an extension, a double-story extension. It can be buying a house with a build plot next to it, where you can build another house. There's so many different ways you can add value, converting a one-bed flat to a two-bed flat. All these different ways. But in terms of like BRR single lets in places like north of England and Wales, how long do you think it's sustainable for? Because
love that question.
It's getting very, very tight now. It's very tough. Build costs are going up. Builders are becoming more expensive at the same time as the deals are becoming tighter. So everything's sort of there at the moment, and I don't think it can last too much longer. I don't think it can be sustainable for too much longer.
I've done loads of videos on this. It's a fantastic question. Listen, I think we're in the last opportunity, the last chance saloon. Like, when many people, and not because I don't think we're going to get crazy growth, even though the growth's been pretty mad over this last year. I don't think we're going to get the growth. London grew from 1996 up to 2016, in a 20-year period. London grew 518%. I don't think anywhere is going to grow like that again. Even the top grower since 2016, though, has been Manchester and Liverpool battling out for the best capital growth areas, but they're not growing at the pace of that. And I don't think we're going to see that again. I think the banks are too far stretched, the loan to values are too stretched, the interest rates are too low. Like unless they can push wages up dramatically, I don't think we're going to see that again. I don't think they're going to lend irresponsibly like they did before. But that said, I do feel we're in a last chance saloon for single let buy to lets BRR strategy. If people rewind back 20 years, and so many people say about London and look at this, and again, I'm not got nothing against London. It's like, okay, look, when you bought properties in London, single lets, and this is why I say people invest remotely, because if you want to start with single lets, because you just can't do it locally. Back then, they still work. You could buy a property in London for 150 grand, you know, and rent it out for £1,000 a month. So the yield was there, the affordability was there, the barrier to entry was a lot easier. So you just can't now. So I think we're going to head there everywhere across the country. I think eventually, exactly what you said, it's going to be to a point where single let, buy to lets, BRR no longer works. The only way you're going to be able to do the BRR strategy is by adding significant value to it, by doing extra floors, loft conversions, developing commercial conversions. That's going to be the only way forward. I think we've probably got about a 5-year window, maybe 10 at maximum of this. And this is why I say to people, don't miss that boat. How many people missed the boat? I know a guy, like back then as well, the lending was so easy. It's back-to-back lending. They called them ninja loans with Mortgage Express. And from 2001 up until about 2007, 100% lending on these. He bought 70 houses in Canary Wharf, 70 flats in Canary Wharf, all for around, the early ones he bought was about 60, 70K. And the late ones he bought was like pushing up to around the late, like maybe 150-ish, 200K-ish mark. They're minimum, they're all worth £500,000 upwards today, you know, and it's like, how many people look back and go, I wish I'd got in there then. And again, going back to what I say to people, I think it's best to cut your teeth on the smaller projects. Again, when you talk about builders, you will have challenges with builders. You will have to learn how to recognize these challenges, how to find the new builders each time. So I feel not everybody, most people, should I say, are better off cutting them teeth on single let, buy to lets, working them challenges out, then stepping up and doing some like flat conversion, then stepping up doing some commercial conversion, then stepping up doing developments, because you'll earn your stripes as you go along. You'll build a better network, better credibility, and better resources to, first of all, understand the challenges are still going to come, and better resources to deal with the challenges when they do come, you know. So yeah, I think we maybe got a 5 to 10 year period in these areas where, and then it's going to be over.
I agree, because it's almost like it becomes so expensive, the property prices, they're going up to the point where if you get a mortgage on that, the mortgage is so high and the rent doesn't give you any margin. So that's where the BRR model starts to die, is when you haven't got that margin anymore. And I think that's not too far away, because, you know, this is amazing, right? When we first started property, 2019, we were getting deals for 40 grand. Mm-hmm. We were honestly getting properties and buying properties for 40 grand. Now, literally they're all 70. They're all 70 grand now, and then their end values have gone shot up then, and they're all in the hundreds now. Soon it's going to be like everything's over 100 grand. And that's where you can't, because then the end values to make a BRR work would have to be 180 or something, 170, and then the mortgage is too high then, and the rents aren't going to be able to pick it up, especially in a place like Wales where it's a rental, where a lot of people are on benefits. You know, it's a community like that. It's a Labour government. It's got the coal mining industry, and they won't be able to afford those rents, so the yield just won't be there, and the margins won't be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Rents don't keep up. That's what's happening in London and all these other areas. As it's grown, the rents don't keep up, and that's what suppresses it for doing it. And then slowly you just can't refinance out of it. Yeah, it just kills the model. I'm excited still about it at the moment, and I'll say to people, look, the fantastic thing of building up a single let portfolio is the most. We talked about passive income earlier on. We didn't talk about it. You said about, is it really passive? The most passive form of income, unless you're doing social housing where you're renting on a guaranteed rent, is single let properties. If you get family homes and you do them nice, you do them really nice, that you guys do them, you get like 5, 6, 7 years, and that demographic you're looking at, you said that the lower demographic, like working sort of classes, not got a mindset of buying, they've got a renting mindset, or council tenants that can't get council home. You'll keep them for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So it's the most passive form of income. When you're doing commercial conversions, all this stuff, quite often it might take you 2 years before you've realised your income from that. Yeah. You might get challenges on the way. You've got development finance. Developers might. I see Andy Cook from White Box Developments last year in COVID. Their lender pulled out from them with all their experience, and they, because of their network, because of their credibility, they managed to raise the finance elsewhere. But I was like, imagine that on your first deal. Getting that pulled up the rug from underneath you, or you thought the development cost going to be this much, and you get to that point, and the bank's going, right, what's stopping lending now? Well, this second phase of lending, we're not lending because you've busted your budget, and we're not confident in this deal anymore. You need to repay this loan. All these challenges, when you've got a portfolio of single let properties giving you a residual income every month, this can then give you the breathing space to be then looking at these bigger projects. I think it's the logical
cash flow, doesn't it? It gives you the cash flow to be able to do that. You know, in developments, cash flow is very little. You do, you know, as you said, you realise the profits like year on, 2 years on. You know, planning isn't a quick process as well for things like that. And in the meantime, you need to be supplementing your life and your lifestyle and the business as well. You know, if you've got employees as well, you need to be supplementing that as well. So the cash flow from these single lets are passive, and it does work well. And obviously other things like rent to rents and stuff, and all those sort of other ways of creating cash flow help when you're doing developments and doing the bigger deals.
Absolutely. But the thing I love about single lets is not the fastest, but it is the most passive. Rent to rents is not really that passive unless you build a team, but then you still got to build a team, still got to manage them. It takes a bit of time and effort to get to that stage where you can sit back from that. So yeah, I really like them. I think it's a really great starting point for a lot of people. Not everybody's circumstance is different. But okay, listen, we've been on for a while now, so I'm pressured. Everybody's got pressure. You've got loads. You've got 20 refurbs going on, so I'm not stealing too much of your time. There's so many bits. I really enjoyed this. We might have to do this again because there's so many other bits I didn't ask and I wanted to. But a couple of little quick fire questions at the end. I always do. So today you've got guns to your head. No, sorry. Before I do that, there is one I want to ask you. Sorry, I'm going to rewind that backwards. And there's one more I'm going to try and squeeze in. And it's a little bit more of a personal one. So if you don't want to answer this, just say, no, I don't want to answer this. Type. No way. But I feel you've been open enough with your journey, you probably will. How does it work being in a relationship and working together? Like, how is the transition? Me and my wife, we couldn't, you know, like we just definitely couldn't. And we get on really well, by the way. So it's not like we're at each other's throats. But yeah, we just got a really great blend for that. I reckon there's pros and cons all the way, and I think when it works great, it works fantastically, but there is a massive danger because obviously things can carry over, can't they? If something goes wrong the day or somebody didn't pick up their weight, then you've got to spend the evening together and then jump in bed together.
I don't think there's ever been an issue in regards to carrying the weight. We both work hard.
Yeah, that makes it easier.
But yeah, it's tough sometimes, like it is. So in regards to like getting things done, it's amazing. You know, we can talk to each other straight. There's no sort of like holding anything back. We get things done. And that's the positive.
And we complement each other's weaknesses and strengths.
Exactly. So that's another big positive, is that we're completely different people and we have completely different strengths. And that sort of was luck. We just sort of came to get as a relationship first, and then obviously our business acumen, we're completely different, and we're different, completely different heads, and we're good at completely different things, which was awesome. It's tough sometimes because obviously like you're sort of like bringing the business back home. We've done quite a few things recently to stop that. Like we've got offices now, so when we get home, it's home time. Like, you know, there's a certain switch off point where we're like, right, we're not talking about the business, we're turning phones off, and it's about like having time off as well. So for example, we've booked a weekend over in London to just get away and I'd like to just turn my phone off and just not do anything. And they're the sort of things that you need to be doing in order to keep that relationship alive and not have too much of the business we've chucked into it all the time and just all you talk about is the business, because you do find yourself guilty of doing it. We find ourselves guilty of talking about the business all the time. Yeah.
All the time.
If you enjoy it, it's kind of not a bad thing, but listen, when it works, I'm jealous of it as well, by the way, because when it works, there is so many benefits from there, isn't it? You know, like the benefits, if you can get it to work, way outweigh it. And again, I really would encourage you to do that. One of the big things I've done about 6-7 years ago was I promised myself I'm going to give myself monthly breaks and detoxes from my phone. So I bought a second phone because you can't help it, as you said.
Yeah.
If I've got this phone in my hand, even if I don't want to work. So Sunday I cut off at 12 o'clock and I spend the rest of the day with my family. This phone's here because I want to take some photos with my family. Before you know it, you're online, or you're looking at emails, you're in WhatsApp, or you're in your task management software. You can't help it. It's not even consciously, even though you don't want to. So I found the best thing to do is basically put this completely down, have a completely second phone with no email, no text, no WhatsApp, no task management, no social media on there. But have that monthly break, schedule that that time in. So even for my wife, even though she don't work with me, obviously it comes with its own territory. Being with somebody that's entrepreneurial, that like is switched on quite a lot of time. As I said at the start, it's quite a fallacy that people think, although you live on your terms, they think that you're gonna just sit back and relax and yeah, that is you can maybe after a lot of hard work, but yeah, not at the start, and that comes with trade-offs. But yeah, I really encourage us to keep doing. We've done things as simple as we went to, when we could fly, we went to Budapest one time, went on a little app called Skyscanner. You can put in anywhere, anytime, and it just gives you cheap flights. We got flights for £17 each to Budapest. We went on a Sunday, so it was odd days, that's why it's probably cheap. We went on a Sunday, come back a few days later. My wife works at Expedia, the hotels was like, it wasn't expensive, and yeah, just as simple as saying is that. Sometimes we go just around the corner to the Spa Hotel around the corner, just have a night, put the phone down, have a night. Last month, as I try and do it monthly when we're not in lockdown, just in Dorset in a caravan. It cost a couple £100 for 3 days, and we're going again this month to another caravan in Lowestoft. Like, got a beach near there, and it wasn't even good weather, but we still enjoyed it, and my son still enjoyed getting on the beach in the bad weather. So yeah, really good thing to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like as well, even if you do end up talking about the business a little bit when you're away, it's the exciting stuff. It's the stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stuff. It's the growth. It's the plans. It's the how are we going to change our lifestyle. It's that sort of conversation that excites you rather than being in it. You don't you know, when you're in it and you're amongst it all day long, you need to get away from it, sort of thing.
100%. And I do, when I go away, I put my phone down, but I write, I do planning, and I don't completely switch off because I'd be just too bored if I did. But it is, as you said, it's the exciting bits, it's the planning bits, some of the stuff you don't always get a lot of time for day to day. But yeah, it's been great. Let's get these quick fire ones, and I'll let you get back to your stuff. So, brand, knowledge, and network in one bundle here, or the wealth that you've created and the properties and everything you've created here. Gun to your head, what would you have? You can't rewind back time as well. You can't say, look back, start back a few years ago with your properties now with that knowledge. You've either got to start from today, and as we've experienced, time is our biggest asset. But yeah, what would you go for?
What was it? Brand, network, and knowledge,
or just assets, cash,
or assets and cash.
Yeah. It's such a difficult one. It's difficult because if I'd gone to head now, you know,
I'd say cash. My stress.
Yeah. I'd probably say, Hannah would probably say that. I'd probably say the brand, knowledge, and network. I probably would.
The thing is, you've done it in such a short period of time. These questions is a little bit different for you guys anyway, I feel. But God, sorry, I jumped in there.
Yeah, brand, knowledge, and network, I'd say, because you can once you've got that knowledge and you've got that, you can do everything again and even quicker than you did it before. Because you've got that knowledge and you've got that network. And let's be honest, like, everyone has this dream of like sitting on a beach having a cocktail. You will get bored. You will get bored. You will want to do business stuff anyway. So having that knowledge and that network to be able to just open a business and just invest in the ways you want to invest is powerful. And if we did just take all our assets and cash and everything like that with no knowledge, it would sort of be like, well, now we're going to go and sit on a beach and I'm going to get bored in 20 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely take the brand.
You've
knowledge.
changed my mind.
Yeah, exactly as well. What we're saying earlier on, you don't get time back, do you? You'd accelerate that doing that again. You've accelerated it anyway, so I can get where it's a different that decisions was kind of on the fence there. But one book that you've read that's not property or business related, but it's had a massive impact on your business and property journey.
Trying to think of the chimp paradox has been brilliant for me. Main reason because I've come from like I said, an anxiety. I was anxious when I first started in business, and it changed my mindset completely. It put everything into perspective. The things that if there's coming in business, you're always going to have challenges. You're always going to have problems, and any sort of problem, challenge, anything that comes into my mind, I override it with other thoughts now, which instantly is just like it's like a CBT technique, cognitive behavior therapy. It's just instantly just think, right, why am I getting stressed about this? Boom, another thought comes in and takes that thought away, and that book puts everything into perspective. Everything that you ever come across in your life, it doesn't just talk about business situations, it talks about personal life situations, it talks about everything, and it puts life and business into perspective. Like for example, just to give an example, on the book, Steven Gerrard talks about the fact that book, when he was 3-0 down in AC Milan, when they were in the Champions League final, when he was he had that book in his mind, and he just chucked all of that negativity out his head, thinking he had already lost it when they were 3-0 down, and it was that book that changed his mind and made him force that team to actually win that Champions League final.
Yeah, I love that book. Read that multiple times. It is a scheme in the way it says it's simplistic. As I said, we're emotional beings, so understanding that chimp part of your mind is not you. It's powerful. And you
talk about that so much. I need to read that.
It's a great book. It's a great book.
It's really powerful.
I don't really read that much. I should read more. I say this all the time. I can't remember the last time I read a book.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Who Moved My Cheese?
You know what? I was thinking that as you asked it. That did run through my head.
I know you like that book.
Yes.
What's that book that you're reading?
That one.
What's
the name of it then?
What's it called? Don't give a.
Something like that. It's really good.
What's the book? I think
it's by a lady, isn't it?
You must have it there. You must have it.
It's a white cover with purplish sort of writing on it.
No, it's a red cover. It is red cover, isn't it?
Yeah, it's don't.
How not to give a.
I do know what it is. Yeah, and it's got little stars on the red cover. I can't remember the name.
Such a lot of not giving a fuck.
That's it.
That's
it.
We
would miss out.
That's it. You love that book.
Yeah, that was. I really do like that book. To be fair, yeah, that one.
Fantastic. Love both of those books, and the ones you said, Move the Cheese and what's the name. Really love those. So I've got a final question, and it kind of links into what you were just saying, George, just now as well. In one word, first thing that comes to your mind, don't overthink this. What do you want from life?
Freedom.
Yeah. So I've been studying. I've got a thing called Figuring Out Happy, and as I said, what makes you happy last week won't make you happy next week, guaranteed. It's constantly readjusting. Life changes, your body changes, you changes, circumstances changes, there are outside forces that hit us. So we can figure out a mind right through books from the Chimp Paradox and understand we're emotional beings and understand that. There's a great book I like by a guy called Sean Anker as well. It's called The Happiness Advantage. If you study this sort of stuff and study our minds like in the Chimp Paradox, that's the key to your... Like when I've studied happiness, freedom comes in there, all these words come in there, and if you think about it, when you study the mind, happiness is just a chemical reaction and to way we respond to certain things. So we can understand how our mind operates a little bit. We can then have the power to get back to an equilibrium. You're not going to be happy all the time. Figuring out happy is not being happy all the time. It's about dealing with the challenges, getting back to either an equilibrium or back to an happy space. And it's not having challenges in life, it is how you deal with them. So my mission is to get as many people self-aware as possible to deal with this, understand this. So when studies shown, the more positive you are, and this is not like positive like affirmation. I like affirmations, but not like the BS ones when you say I'm rich, and then you look at your bank account and you've got no money in there, and your subconscious mind is just saying to you, "You're not rich. I just see your bank account this morning." So it's not that sort of positive psychology. It is the psychology behind what you're saying in the Chimp Paradox. If you can understand that, when you're in that right psychology, you deal with challenges better, you deal with relationships better, you deal with your health better. Everything is improved doing that. So for me, it's like, why are people learning how to earn money or learn to be an accountant or learn to be a business person? They should be learning this first, because in every field of your life, if you can learn stuff from the Chimp Paradox or from the Happiness Advantage and learn this psychology behind that, that's going to improve every element. And my mission is to try and get people to be more aware of that. So I love that answer. You both answered the same thing as well. So really, really great answer. Listen, guys, it's been absolutely amazing. It's gone over a normal amount of time I've done, but obviously that's testament to how much I've been enjoying this. And thanks for giving us a little bit extra of your time as well. I know. What is your goals? What are your plans now? Where can people just get in touch with you? You source properties for people. What's the main driver for your business going forward at the moment? And how can people get involved with that with you?
Yeah, so I think anyone can get in touch with us. We do got Property on all social media channels. Hannah Robson on LinkedIn, George Dugard on LinkedIn. In terms of business, yeah, we're pretty much known for sourcing or offering obviously private finance. I think we're at a bit of a crossroads at the moment now. There's a lot going on in the background, a lot of planning we're doing on how we're potentially pivoting the business or how we can grow and do things better as well. So yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, so yeah, basically in short, a lot of the single lets, like as we said before, you know, getting started in those single lets, we're definitely at a stage now where with our own portfolio and stuff, we want to be, and our own sort of aspirations, we want to be doing the big deals where you're putting in a lot of effort into these single deals, but you're not getting the rewards as much. So we're looking to put in a lot of effort into like developments, flat conversions, all that sort of thing. That's sort of the route we're going down now.
Yeah, perfect evolution for you as well, and I think he's at the right stage at the right time for that. So yeah, guys, look out for them, connect with them, check out their stuff on social media. It's amazing what they're doing and what they've done in such a compressed period of time. It's a true inspiration. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I look forward to networking with you again further in the future.
Yeah, definitely, and thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys, really enjoyed it.